The rain hammered against the windows of our small cottage in the Cotswolds, a relentless rhythm mirroring the turmoil in my gut. My name is Barnaby, and until a few weeks ago I believed I had the perfect life. I'm 46, an IT specialist, and for the last 15 years I've been married to Guinevere. We met at a bookshop in Hay-on-Wye, both reaching for the same first edition of Wuthering Heights. It felt like fate, a literary meet-cute destined for a happy ending. Guinevere is a teacher, passionate about her students and fiercely independent. I've always admired her spirit, her unwavering commitment to her ideals. Or at least that's what I thought I admired. The first flicker of doubt came during our annual trip to Cornwall. We've always spent a week in St. Ives, walking the coastal path, eating pasties and watching the sunset over the Atlantic. This year, though, Guinevere seemed distant. She spent hours on her phone, ostensibly marking essays, but her eyes darted away whenever I approached. She'd laugh softly at messages, a private amusement I wasn't privy to. One evening, as we sat in the pub, the Sloop Inn, she received a call. "I can't talk now," she whispered, her voice tight. "I'll call you later." She hung up quickly, avoiding my gaze. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Oh, just a colleague," she replied, a little too quickly. "We're planning a school trip." I wanted to believe her, I truly did. But the seed of suspicion had been planted, and it began to sprout tendrils, wrapping around my heart, squeezing the joy out of our holiday. Back home, things didn't improve. Guinevere started working late, attending extra meetings and parent-teacher conferences. She was always tired, always distracted. Our conversations dwindled to monosyllabic exchanges about the weather and the price of groceries. The warmth that had once radiated between us had cooled to a glacial chill. One Saturday morning, while Guinevere was supposedly at a training seminar in Bristol, I decided to clean out the attic. It's a dusty, forgotten space, filled with forgotten memories and discarded dreams. As I sifted through old photographs and moth-eaten clothes, I stumbled upon a small, wooden box hidden beneath a pile of blankets. Curiosity piqued, I opened it. Inside, nestled amongst dried flowers and faded ribbons, was a small, silver locket. It was intricately engraved with a single initial, C. It wasn't Guinevere's initial. My heart began to pound in my chest, a frantic drumbeat against my ribs. I opened the locket. Inside were two tiny photographs. One was of Guinevere, younger, smiling radiantly. The other was of a man I didn't recognize. He had dark hair, piercing blue eyes, and a confident, almost arrogant smile. He looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place him. I spent the rest of the day consumed by a gnawing unease. Who was this man? And why did Guinevere have his photograph in a secret locket? I tried to rationalize it, to find a plausible explanation. Perhaps it was an old boyfriend from her university days. But something about the way Guinevere looked in the photograph, the unguarded joy in her eyes, suggested a deeper, more significant connection. The following week, I decided to do some digging. I started subtly, asking Guinevere about her colleagues, casually dropping names, hoping to elicit a reaction. She remained evasive, offering vague descriptions and noncommittal answers. One evening, I decided to take a more direct approach. "Guinevere," I said as we sat at the dinner table picking at our lukewarm pasta. "Who is C?" She froze, her fork suspended in midair. Her face paled and her eyes darted around the room as if searching for an escape route. "What do you mean?" She stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "I found a locket in the attic," I continued, my voice steady despite the turmoil raging inside me. "It had your photograph and the photograph of a man with the initial C. Who is he?" Guinevere's composure crumbled, tears welled up in her eyes, and she began to sob uncontrollably. "Oh, Barnaby," she cried, "I'm so sorry." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. "Sorry for what?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Sorry for lying to me. Sorry for keeping secrets. Sorry for betraying me." She couldn't meet my gaze. She just sat there, weeping, a broken, fragmented version of the woman I thought I knew. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she began to speak. Her words came in disjointed bursts, punctuated by sobs and apologies. "His name is Caspian," she confessed. "He was my professor at university. We had an affair. It was a long time ago. I thought it was over. But it wasn't, was it?" I said, the question barely audible. She shook her head, her tears flowing freely now. He came back into my life a few months ago, she admitted. He's working at a school in Bristol. We reconnected, my world tilted on its axis. The pain was so intense, so visceral, it felt like a physical blow. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, had been lying to me for months, engaging in a clandestine affair with her former professor. The betrayal cut deep, severing the bonds of trust and affection that had held our marriage together for so long. "How could you do this to me, Guinevere?" I asked, my voice raw with pain. "How could you betray me like this?" She had no answer. She just continued to cry, her tears a pathetic attempt to wash away her guilt. I spent the next few days in a daze, numb with shock and disbelief. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't even think straight. The image of Guinevere with Caspian, laughing, touching, sharing intimate moments, played on repeat in my mind, a torturous loop of betrayal and heartbreak. I wandered around our cottage like a ghost, haunted by the memories of our past, the dreams we had shared, the future we had planned. All of it now reduced to ashes. I knew I couldn't stay. I couldn't live in the same house as Guinevere, knowing what she had done. I needed to escape, to find some semblance of peace, to rebuild my shattered life. I told her I was leaving. She didn't argue, she just nodded, her eyes hollow and vacant. I packed a suitcase filled with the bare essentials. As I walked out the door, I turned back to look at her one last time. She was standing in the hallway, her face pale and drawn, her eyes filled with regret. But it was too late. The damage was done. The trust was broken. There was no going back. I drove to London to my sister, Bronte. She's a therapist, and I knew I needed her help. I spent hours talking to her, pouring out my heart, recounting the events of the past few weeks. She listened patiently, offering words of comfort and support. "You'll get through this, Barnaby," she said, squeezing my hand. "It will take time, but you will heal. You deserve to be happy." Bronte's words were a lifeline, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. I knew she was right. I deserved to be happy. I deserved to be with someone who loved me, who respected me, who wouldn't betray me. But the road to recovery was long and arduous. I struggled with feelings of anger, resentment, and self-doubt. I questioned everything I had ever believed about love, marriage, and commitment. I wondered if I would ever be able to trust anyone again. One day, while browsing through old emails, I stumbled upon a message from Guinevere's colleague, a woman named Tabitha, sent a few months prior. It was a casual email discussing a staff meeting, but at the end, Tabitha had added a cryptic message. "Hope you're enjoying your training seminar in Bristol." The winking emoticon felt like a slap in the face. It confirmed my suspicions that Guinevere's affair was an open secret amongst her colleagues. I felt a surge of anger, a burning desire for revenge. I decided to pay Caspian a visit. I tracked down his school in Bristol and waited outside until he emerged. He was exactly as I remembered him from the photograph, arrogant, self-assured, and utterly devoid of remorse. "Caspian," I said, my voice cold and controlled. He turned around, his eyes widening in surprise. "Barnaby," he stammered, "what are you doing here?" "I wanted to meet the man who destroyed my marriage," I said, stepping closer. "The man who betrayed my trust, who stole my wife." Caspian tried to deny it, to downplay his role in the affair, but I wouldn't let him. I confronted him with the locket, with the photographs, with the emails from Tabitha. He finally admitted the truth, his arrogance replaced by a look of shame and guilt. "I'm sorry, Barnaby," he said, his voice barely audible. "I never meant to hurt you." "You didn't mean to hurt me," I retorted, my voice rising. "You deliberately seduced my wife, you lied to me, you destroyed my life, and you didn't mean to hurt me." I could have punched him. I could have screamed at him. I could have unleashed all the pent-up anger and rage that had been consuming me for weeks, but I didn't. I simply looked at him with a mixture of pity and contempt. "You're pathetic, Caspian," I said, my voice calm but firm. "You're a sad, lonely man who preys on vulnerable women. You'll never find true happiness because you're incapable of genuine love and commitment." I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, alone and defeated. I didn't get any physical revenge, but I did send an anonymous email to the school where Caspian worked, detailing his affair with Guinevere. I included copies of the emails from Tabitha and the photographs from the locket. I knew it would cause a scandal, that it could potentially cost him his job, but I didn't care. He deserved it. He had reaped what he had sown. As for Guinevere, I filed for divorce. She didn't contest it. She seemed resigned to her fate, as if she knew she had forfeited her right to happiness. I didn't hate her. I felt a profound sadness, a deep sense of loss for the woman I had once loved. But I knew I couldn't forgive her. The betrayal was too deep, the damage too irreparable. It's been a year since I left Guinevere. The pain has subsided, replaced by a quiet acceptance. I'm still healing, still learning to trust again, but I'm moving forward. I've started painting again, something I had neglected during my marriage. I've reconnected with old friends. I've even started dating. It's scary putting myself out there again, but I'm determined to find happiness. I refuse to let Guinevere's betrayal define me. I am Barnaby and I am a survivor. I often think about Guinevere and Caspian. I wonder if they're still together. I wonder if they're happy. But I don't dwell on it. Their lives are their own. I can only control my own destiny. And my destiny is to find peace, to find love, to find happiness, even after the heartbreak and betrayal. The rain outside has stopped, and a sliver of sunlight is peeking through the clouds. It's a new day, a new beginning, and I'm ready for it.